Welcome to Goddard Garage and Goddard Adventure. It's a really windy day here in Summerville, South Carolina, but I'm really excited to share with you our install video for our radio setup here in our new 2024 Honda Passport. This video comes to you from future Aaron. I've already used this setup for quite a while, and I can tell you that I love it, and I'm super stoked to share it with you. I think that this setup would work on a lot of vehicles. Clearly, this install will be more of a how Aaron did it with his Honda, but in this video you'll see a really good way to route cables from the exterior into the cabin. So first off, we'll shout out our sponsors. We received a ditch light bracket for this build from Nolo Designs. These ditch light brackets can be used for obviously ditch lights, but I decided to use it as a radio mount. But the other sponsor I have to give a big shout out to is BTECH. BTECH provided the cabling that I modified to work, and they also provided the radio itself. And we'll get into more details here in a moment on the model, but I just wanted for the intro to just show you how clean this setup is. So you can see the radio is magnet mounted right here, super accessible, easy to get to, very visible, which I like. One of the things I was worried about was this the cable for it maybe interfering with my legs, and I can tell you that that's actually not the case. It stays perfectly out of the way, at least for me. It never touches my leg, even off-roading. I was also worried about the parking brake, and it is a little close if you have shoes on, but you just pay attention and you won't kick the head unit here. But it's tucked up and out of the way. If you want to, you can take this whole unit. You can take it out, completely anyways, because it's all hooked up with quick disconnect connections, but you can just unscrew this right here. But all in all, this project has been a massive success, and I'm really excited to share it with you.
All right, today we're working on installing our permanently mounted mobile radio here. We contacted BTECH to see if they'd be interested in sponsoring our build. I was drawn to this radio because of its form factor. It has the small power station, and all the controls are built into this hand unit. We've already been using it with the magnet mount that they sent, magnet antenna, in a very temporary way. I will have already posted a video about that setup, but now I'm looking to install a more permanent mount. To do that, I'm going to have to cut this cable and solder on new connections on the end. We're going to be unscrewing this Nagoya RB100N mount, and we're going to be adapting it to this Nolo Designs mirror ditch light bracket. It goes right in front of your mirror. We're going to be mounting this inside the car. I already epoxied a metal disc to the back, so we can use a vent mounted magnet to hold it. All in all, this setup should be super sleek, super easy, and pretty professional looking. This unit isn't the most powerful. It's only a 20-watt unit, but it should be all we need for our car-to-car communications. We mostly use it for caravanning and for group off-roading. First things first, we've got to see what it takes to take this mount apart. We need to be able to basically attach it to the Nolo Designs mount. So I'm hoping it's as simple as unscrewing this, which it is. So now we got this whole combobulation. Just as I thought, I might need to drill out a slot in this Nolo Designs bracket that's a little bit bigger, but we can do that now. So I got the bracket kitted up here in my Delta drill press that I inherited from my great grandpa, and we've got it lined up to where this should be pretty good. Let's see how hard this is gonna fling around here. I think that's all it needed. We'll unscrew it here and go take a look. So that little bit of scraping on the edge allows that to fit through. I am missing something very, very big. This bracket had a much bigger hole. Huh. All right, so I pulled this little piece of plastic Delrin out, and we're gonna try using it without it. It still has a rubber O-ring on the bottom. It should dampen it nicely. And we are going to see if we can get this screwed on. And the answer is yes. Next, I'm gonna begin getting the corner piece here ready for the Nilo Design mirror bracket, light bracket. So to pull this off, there's 3 plastic tabs. I started on the back top side, then I went to the bottom side with this little bit firmer one, and then the last one got kind of left behind, and then I pulled it out afterwards. In order to do this install, we will end up having to cut this bottom portion. For right now, for my purposes, I might leave this off and just test the radio and the setup and just make sure I'm happy with it before I Dremel that hole. Once you have that bolt out, you feed in the new one that came with the bracket. Start screwing it in. Make sure if you have other cables, make sure that they're not stuck underneath of it. We'll get the radio mount. I am gonna prime this and paint it black again before I finish this all up. You can see we have to trim a little bit of this. Oh my gosh, my aiming is terrible. We have to trim a little bit of this plastic for this piece to fit back in. Again, I'm gonna hold off on doing that till I make sure that the audio quality and the rest of this build is up to my liking. But so far, I think, especially if I put a ghost antenna on there, that's not what BTECH sent me. They sent me like a, I don't know, a 16-inch antenna. It's about this tall. But either way, let's see actually. Yeah, it does not interfere with the antenna. So either way, no matter what antenna I put there, I think that's gonna be a pretty clean looking install for an antenna on this build. And once we get into the inside, I think I can show you how good the rest of the build's gonna look too. So the next process is I have to cut off the end of this cable, and we got to fish it through this firewall. I already fished my front camera through here, so it should be pretty easy. This is also pretty thick cable, so I should be able to just fish it straight through there. Once we get it through, we're going to move on to mounting, well, I guess soldering on the new cable, which is going to be a fun experience. So what we have to do is we have to end up splicing this cable. We have to end up cutting through the outer jacket and the outer metal, but leaving the inner. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna look at a YouTube video to learn how to do this. I recommend you doing that too. This video is not gonna be good enough. You can also buy crimp-on connectors for the end. I have a soldering iron and I know how to use it, so I'm gonna just solder it on. But all right, next step. Let's see if we can just push it. All right, so yeah, we're already fishing in. And let me see. there's this piece of foam that kind of is sound dampening, I think. You can pull that out. But once we do that, we are already in. And just like that, I've got a really good, clean way into the car for this cable. Door still functions. Next step is to adjust the length of this cable and solder on the new connection. All right, we've got mission accomplished on my custom soldered end here. Now it's time to go get the radio and start working on powering it. So up in here, we've got a bunch of fuses. Just like in the middle there, I'm gonna run another ATA circuit. And I'm limited to 10 amp fuses, but my research showed that that should be enough for this 20-watt radio. If it's not enough, then we can always adjust. I realize that running the power directly to the battery is what's recommended, but I am going to try this and see what our quality is like. And if I have to, I will run power to the battery, but for right now, I'm just gonna run it to the rear. We're gonna piggyback off the rear windshield wiper blade. I'm doing that so that if I blow the fuse, that we don't lose something important. So windshield wiper blade is the least important thing, I would say, especially the rear one. So, all right, let's work to get this started. So I just noticed there's an inline fuse right here. So if I was gonna run it straight to the power on the battery, I could, and I wouldn't have to worry about having an inline fuse. Really conflicted. I wish I had another one of these connectors so that I could just connect it in and then run this to the car. That way I could remove it pretty easily. But I still want to be able to remove it easily. So for right now, we are gonna go ahead and hack into this side. So we'll do approximately, we'll do just a little bit longer on this end, because the ground needs to be run a little further. So now we'll splice this down. A little bit shorter right there. I picked up these ATA fuse or fuse taps over at AutoZone. Load it up with 10 amp fuses. 10 amp fuses are the max for this setup, apparently. Okay. Now we need to crush this on the end. I knew that was going to happen. These wire cutter wires are too strong, so we're going to switch over. I'm going to do one of those heat shrink soldering connections now. Let me go grab them. And always give those things a moment to cool, or else you'll stretch them right apart. All right, I'm struggling with the order of operations here. So what I'm gonna do is get the ground hooked up. We're just using this ground bolt right here. I realize that grounding is pretty important for radios, so we'll have to see if this is good enough. But we are gonna run this together with our front camera light ground. And then twist that in here. Actually, I think I am gonna wrap it around the bolt like I did before. Pull out this fuse. Right there. Plug this one in. Like so. Looks like my connection there works. I think for right now, what we're gonna do is actually put this bracket or this panel back in. It's kind of a bit of a pain to get out, so we'll have to see what this feels like here. All right, so got that back on. Now we need to see this way to put this thing up here. We gotta make sure it stays out of the way of the brake pedal and the emergency brake, but I think as high as possible right here is where we want to put it. Okay, got the approximate spot there. Let's take this back off. Let's see if we understand this better now. So back one, bottom one, right there. Once you have that, it should be as simple as pulling. Okay, it's this one. No. What is it? So, gotta pop, pop, and then pull up and out. Let's get you out of here. I'm gonna put this bracket on with the regular kind of sheet metal screws that it came with, and if we have to do it with a different, if we have to lock it with bolts or something, we can. Another time. There we go. Pay attention to the slotting here. Well, my power works. It's turned on. I'd say that's looking mighty good. All right, now we just have to put on the bottom here and then wait till my wife gets home, put on the antenna, and then the last step will be to trim for this piece, but it's looking good. We'll do some sound testing as well before I get it all too permanently together, but overall I think this was a pretty easy, pretty clean install. The cable is actually long enough to reach, which I was a little bit afraid of because this is a little bit of a short cable, but definitely long enough to reach. All right, Eli, what are your first impressions about ergonomics for that radio mount?
It's way better than the Pilot.
Way better than the Pilot.
Yeah, the Pilot has a whole line on this side.
See if you can grab the radio and talk to it.
I can grab it from back there.
Yep, so just pull it right off. You just have to pull. Just off. It's magnet.
Check, check. Oh, you have to hold this, right?
That's how you turn it on if the car power's on.
Like, which one is the...
Let's see if it has power when the car's off. Oh, sweet. The fuse I chose has power when the car's off. So
which one do you press to talk?
Just that big gray one.
Check, check.
That's crazy. So the fuse I chose, which was the one that says option, actually has power when the car's off. So, but anyways, you just turn off the radio by holding this orange button. And it remembers the last state it was in. So if you keep it off, when you turn the car back on, it'll stay off. All right, so we're gonna cut out our slot for the side mirror. I drew a little line there, and I'm gonna just try to take back maybe like a millimeter or two to start with. We'll have to see where this goes, because I don't know any good strategies at this point. But after a bunch of careful back and forth trimming, this is what we got. It's not exactly perfect, but it's pretty good. I made sure the bottom of the bracket wasn't rubbing against my paint. So one of the ways I can guarantee this is by shoving my GMRS antenna wire under there, but I think this is looking pretty good. So I think this is concluding our permanent radio install video here. We went to Overland South and we went to the GMRS radio tutorial training session, and they mentioned the flaw in my thinking with our little baby antenna. This was a tram antenna. It was very well reviewed. It'd be well reviewed if we put it up here and had good line of sight around the vehicle. But we decided to do this stealth install. It's not turning stealth anymore, as you can see. But ideally you want your radio antenna to have good line of sight around the perimeter of the vehicle. And
so it needs to clear the roof.
It needs to clear the roof, yeah. And I still don't know that this one does entirely, but it's the longest antenna that I could find. It's a Motorola 32-inch whip antenna.
Moto.
Yep, so it's a 6 decibel antenna, and it apparently is really, really good. It was definitely the most expensive one that I've purchased. So we're gonna put it on here, and we're gonna use it for the all-wheel drive festival this weekend.
And do a little testy test comparison.
Yep. I think it clears the roof line pretty well if we had the crossbars gone, but with the crossbars. But anyways, we will see how it works, but it does look pretty nice sitting here.
Well, and the cool thing is, if we don't want to have a big one on or something, or if we don't need it, we can always put the smaller one back on if we don't like the look of it.
I was worried about if it would hit the car or not, but looks like we're
that's good.
Clear.
Oh no, you did hit it.
The car. All right, well, I still think it's unlikely when we're hitting a tree branch. Yeah. So a lot of people put stealth antennas
right here, and it's a little cone antenna. And I'm curious, I bet you those work pretty good for caravans, but my understanding is that the car acts as a wall. So, you know, any radio signal going through the car is gonna be seriously impacted. And I think in our testing, we discovered that if the Passport was in front of the Pilot, we had a heck of a hard time getting signal backwards. And it didn't take much separation at all to really, you know, hear the degradation of sound. We're going to end this video with some sample radio chatter from the last all-wheel drive festival. If you could, please check out Goddard Garage and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Once that channel is monetized, we can stop double posting these install and garage related videos. I'd really like to separate them out and have an adventure channel and a mechanical channel. Thanks guys, hope you enjoy.
What did he just say? Are you serious?
That was Ian?
And you just gotta make your skid plate so it extends out past the door to protect it.
He's gonna need a new door, he said?
That's what he said.
I agree.
Bad.
Better.
Dad, will you come help them, please? Okay.
Wait, his door broke?
That's pretty
Got a
crazy.
dent.